Here we go. Here we go. How about them Cowboys? No. But on a serious note, you know what the Dallas Cowboys remind me of? Like that deadbeat parent that makes those promises to the child that we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And like they show that they can be a consistent parent all the way up until like a party or like some sort of trip. Kind of like the Will Smith moment. You know that moment of Will Smith, the Fresh Prince, where his dad came to town, Lou, and like that whole episode he was buttering him up, like we're gonna be a family again, we're gonna spend all this time together, and he promised Will they was gonna go on this trip, and Will bought that little statue for him, cause all he wanted was his daddy, all he wanted was his father back. He wanted that thing he was missing, his father. That's what he wanted, that thing he been missing all this time. And when it came time for Lou to be the parent that he was supposed to be and give Will that trip he was promised him that whole episode, he was ready to bounce and he just got cold feet and he wanted to bounce, and Uncle Phil was like, bro, you gonna have to tell him. And he held him there long enough for Lou to have to break it to Will that, hey man, just something came up, you know. I just can't do it, you know. You know how it is. And he was like, yeah. All right, I see you, Lou. That's when he had the infamous breakdown on the show where Will said James Avery told him, that's some acting right there. But that's what the Cowboys remind me of. That episode. They always build a fan base up to these massive expectations of that elusive championship they haven't had in such a long time. Like the championship years of the good old days, what they had once upon a time ago, that all the new fans heard about, but all the old fans remember, old enough to remember like the 90s when they won all those championships. Like, this is our year. This is the time they're really gonna do it. It's really gonna be like, you have people like Skip Bayless and like Mike Irvin, all this shit, like hyping them up. And it made it worse. It made it worse because they had this streak. It was like Stephen A. Smith is as big of a troll and a minstrel as he can be. He said it the perfect way. It was so beautiful the way they set the whole season up for their fan base to crash. Like to crash and burn the way they did. They had this streak going over a 2-year span. They spanned it back from it was like a year and a half span. Spending back from that playoff game where they beat Tampa and they just kept it going at home. And like the stats was, they so dominant at home. They don't lose at home. They bad on the road, but they don't lose at home. Then you get to the playoffs and the game just got ugly quick. And my mom was a Packers fan, and I called her like right before halftime when the score was like 27. I was like, damn, you ain't told me it was gonna be like this, did you? Y'all gonna do them like that? And like the stats for people that really didn't watch the game, it can be misleading. If you look at the box score and see like Dak had all those yards, he got all those yards after the game was pretty much over with. It was a typical Dak game. It was a typical old school Dak game. Because this year he threw them. He had them big yards and winning efforts. He had them in some good games when they won now. But this was a typical old school Dak game. This is a vintage Dak performance. That's what you would call it. He had the deer in the headlights look, and he gets this look every year in the playoffs. That's what bugs me out about him. He plays so well in the regular season, but he gets to the playoffs, and he gets this bug out like deer in headlights look in his eyes, like he don't even know where he at. Like if the camera pans on his eyes, he had this bugged out like deer in headlights staring his eyes, like they glossed over. Like I have no idea where I am right now. Even CD was looking at him like, bro, like, what's going on? Like, even though half the passes in the beginning of the game kind of like wasn't his fault because of the way the defense was like coming at him. But it was like, damn, man, not again. it makes it the where it's like it makes McCarthy looks crazy. Dan Quinn, he's been overrated. Like, I'm an Atlanta fan. Like, I've been out on Dan Quinn. He's overrated to me. His defense that was in Seattle, it was mainly the players he had in Seattle. He had some all-time great players in the positions that he had them in for that particular scheme he used. It was a perfect storm for the perfect system. But back to the Cowboys. It was poetic and disappointing altogether to see that. It was just, I feel bad for Cowboys fans. I really do, man. Damn.